Jai Shri Krishna and Om. These couple of videos that are published are dedicated completely to understanding the ATHARVASHIRSHA Upanishad, a beautiful composition coming from the Atharvan period. It comes from the Atharva Veda. Before we begin the explanation of the actual text of ATHARVASHIRSHA, I would love to share a few words about this entire ocean of Vedic wisdom which is available in our culture, in our tradition. How blessed I feel, and I'm sure how blessed each one of you feels, to be born in this culture, to be able to study, to be able to have the freedom and the choice to pick up every bit of this ocean into ourselves. Let us talk something and understand something about the Vedic, the entire Vedic collection. Adiguru Shankaracharya, in one of his very beautiful compositions named Dhanyashtakam, says Tat Jnanam Prashamakaram Yadindriyanam Tadgeyam Yadupanishadsu Nishchitartham Te Dhanya Bhuvi Parmartha Nishchiteha Sheshastu Brahmanile Paribhramantaha. He says that only those people are blessed who are able to pick up that knowledge that quietens the senses, and this knowledge is available only in the Upanishads, and the rest of them are beating around the bush and they are going absolutely haywire. This word Upanishad needs to be understood. That's why to understand that in this whole ocean of the Vedic literature that we have with us, where does the word Upanishad fit in? And synonymous is the word Vedanta. Let us understand these few words first before we go ahead to understanding the ATHARVASHIRSHA. So you see, before Muni Ved Vyas, he is the, you can say, the father of our entire Vedic literature. We pay our reverence to him on each Guru Purnima. Because he has compiled all the scattered information. They say that before he did so, the Vedic literature was all scattered, and all the Samhitas were all scattered everywhere, and there was no kind of an arranged way of study or knowing. Muni Vedvyas put it all together and compiled it into the four Vedas that we know today, the Rig Ved, Sam Ved, Yajur Ved, and the Atharva Ved. Some people say that the Yajur Ved has two shakhas, or the two branches of Shukla Yajur Ved and Krishna Yajur Ved. So 5 Vedas you can say in that text. But most of the people refer always to four Vedas. Now these this entire content of the Vedas had number of shakhas. There were many shakhas. Shakhas are like branches. So there were many chapters, you can say, many sections of these Vedas. There were 1180 shakhas, they say, and a section in the shakha called Karma Khanda. There was a section in the shakha called Karma Khanda. Each of these shakhas has Karma Khanda, and within Karma Khanda there were mantras and brahmanas. And brahmanas were specific to invocations, meditations, and number of methods with which a person could turn inward and could get access to absolute knowledge. So within these brahmanas there was a specific section called Aryanakas. Aryanakas were meant, they were methods, procedures, and intense practices that were meant for people who went into a forest kind of a life and went into isolation, and these practices helped them achieve realization. So within the Aryanakas, Upanishads are found. Within the section of Aryanakas, Upanishads are found, and Upanishads therefore are a very consolidated extract of the entire Vedic wisdom. They are the philosophical purport of the Vedas. And so when we talk about having 1180 shakhas, this is an approximation, I think, because I couldn't find any valid proof to these number of shakhas. So 1100 shakhas, if we take, then there have to be about 1100 Upanishads. also. And this number is quite huge, and we don't have any record of these 1180 Upanishads. But what later has been recorded is that one of the Upanishads, called Mukti-Upanishad, has a conversation of Sri Ram and Hanuman, and he has listed, in that Upanishad is listed 108 Upanishads, which we call the canon of 108 Upanishads. And in this list, the top 10 are the ones which are considered to be the most important, the most dynamic, and the most valuable of all the Upanishads. And these 10 are taken as the subject matter for the study of Vedant. I will explain to you what the term Vedant literally means, but before that, let us understand that these 10 Upanishads are the ones that have been commented upon mostly by all the scholars in our Vedic tradition. On the topmost comes the name of Adiguru Shankaracharya, who has commented on all these 10. In fact, the sequence of these 10 has been given by him itself. Isha Kena Katha Prashna Munda Mandukya, Taitriya, Atriya, Chandogya, and Brihadaranyaka. These are the 10 which are taken as subject matter for Vedantic study by students who study the Vedant. These 10 have been commented upon by Adiguru Shankaracharya. 3 major commentaries that are available that give you 3 different schools of thought and 3 different philosophies in India. One of Adiguru Shankaracharya, which is the Advaita philosophy, where he he declares and he explains it in such a way that consciousness alone is with no other parts, and we call it the non-dual Advaita path. Non-dual Advaita path, where there is no Dvait, where there is no splitting of consciousness. There's only consciousness is one, all pervading, all existing, and that's it. There are no further parts to it. Adiguru Shankaracharya is on the top list of the commentaries. Then second, there is Madhavacharya, who propounded the Dvait philosophy, where he says that consciousness is all pervading and manifests itself into all of these that we see around of us. So there are parts, bits and pieces of everything that you see around has consciousness in it, and then there is super consciousness, which he called as Vishnu. So it is the foundation. This Dvait philosophy is the foundation of the Vaishnava faith that we see today. All the Hare Krishna and ISKCON faith is all coming from this background. And then there is a third school of thought, the third philosophy, which was given by Ramanuja Acharya. And Ramanuja's path is the middle path. The philosophy is called Vishishta Advait philosophy, and it takes into consideration both these schools of thoughts, that of Adiguru Shankaracharya ji and of Madhavacharya ji. Both of these. So he acknowledges that consciousness is all pervading and is there everywhere, but he also acknowledges that this consciousness is present in each one of us and in every manifested atom of the universe. So these 3 philosophies are what are the 3 paths that have been there in our Indian tradition all through these thousands of years. Further, let us understand something about the word Vedanta. Let us understand about the word Vedanta. Vedanta literally means the end of Vedas. I mean, if you just take the word as it is, it means the end of Vedas. And it is obviously called so because, like I said, from the Shakhas to the Khandas to the Brahmanas and Aryanakas, and then come the Upanishads. So that's the end part of the Veda, the end category of the Vedas. And it is called Vedanta for that reason, number one. And number two, that all your understanding sums up in this word, Upanishad. The entire Vedic understanding sums up and comes to the realization of the truth, to the absolute. And here, the whole understanding of the Veda ends, So Vedanta has been a commonly used term in the modern times for the study of Upanishads. The Upanishads itself are called the Vedanta, actually. And of course, the students of Vedanta in the modern times, they They study something more than the Upanishads also, the Brahma Sutras, the Prashtantraya, the Brahma Sutras, the Bhagavad Gita, which is also an Upanishad. It's all Upanishad only. It's all the study of Upanishad itself is Vedantic study. And so when somebody says that this is a Vedantic thought, it means it's a thought coming from the Upanishad. And so this entire canon of 108 Upanishads, which were revealed in the Muktikopanishad, the first 10 of them are the ones that I just spelled, which I just mentioned, and the remaining 108 also, the remaining of the 108 are also very beautiful Upanishads. They could be categorized, into 5 to 7 different faiths or categories. Some of these Upanishads are Vaishnav. Some of these Upanishads are belonging to the Shaiva tradition. Some of these are belonging to the Shakta or to the Devis invocations. Some of these belong to the yoga traditions, that talk about the yoga, the entire yoga tradition. Some of these are related only to sannyas. The Upanishads are related only to sannyas. And then there are many general categories that the Upanishads are spread out. The goal of all the Upanishads is the realization of the absolute. There is no other teaching in the Upanishad other than realization of the absolute, and to realize that the Brahma that we are talking about is here. And these 108 Upanishads are all very beautiful, and there are many people who study one after the other, all of them, to understand to understand the knowledge that they are emanating, and to absorb and to go closer and closer to the reality. In fact, Sri Ram and Hanuman's conversation that is there in the Muktikopanishad, Sri Ram says that it is not important for you to study all these 108. In fact, he said that even if you pick up one Upanishad and take it, into your practice, and take it deep into your cells. In Hindi we say isko atmasat kar lete hain hum. When you take it, so much inside your being that your breath and every cell of your body vibrates with the knowledge of that Upanishad, realization of the truth happens, and Brahma Gyan comes to the person automatically. So these Upanishads there are so many of them. We have a vast choice. We have a wide choice to pick up any one of them and make it a part of our regular practice, and keep repeating the text again and again and again, and go deeper into contemplation and deeper into understanding of the words therein, so that we are able to achieve realization. The ATHARVASHIRSHA Upanishad is 89th in number. It's 89th in number. It's called Ganesh Upanishad. But there's one in the 20s also, which is called ATHARVASHIRSHA. I'm not very sure if that is a Devi ATHARVASHIRSHA, because ATHARVASHIRSHA also are, there is Ganesh ATHARVASHIRSHA, there is Devi ATHARVASHIRSHA, and there is a Shiva ATHARVASHIRSHA also. So there are many different ATHARVASHIRSHAs which are there, belonging to different faiths. But the one that is called Ganesh ATHARVASHIRSHA is also called Ganesh Upanishad, and this is 89th in the number of the canon, in the canon list. And this Upanishad also has the entire Brahma Gyan, and the realization of the absolute truth happens with this as well. It has been my practice. The Ganesh ATHARVASHIRSHA has been my practice for several years, and I have been practicing this, and I have progressed, and I myself am a testimony to how one grows into grows closer and closer, deeper and deeper, wider and wider, bigger and bigger in one's understanding as you study the Upanishad regularly. I always feel that unless one experiences something himself and has a personal experience about whatever he's talking, there is no certitude. There is no certitude. If I can teach something to people that have experienced, I have certitude in my heart. If I teach something to people that I have not experienced, then it is merely bookish knowledge. So here I'm very sure about what I'm saying now, that if you take up one Upanishad, any of the Upanishads, and take it into your daily practice, reading it regularly, or eventually learning it, and then keeping your focus on to the crux of the Upanishad, and to extract words and meanings, with your own understanding that sprouts from within of you. And simultaneously, one could continue the study and the seeking and the jigyasa and the thirst for knowledge. You could keep reading many other things, but that one Upanishad that you choose, if one takes it into the regular practice, it is sure to lead one to realization, self-realization, and realization
It's
of the
also a
truth.
very pertinent question and a very, very important point to think upon. The choice of the kind of Upanishad that you pick up for your regular practice or for your study should be something that you are very comfortable with, a faith that you're comfortable with. For instance, the ATHARVASHIRSHA Upanishad just happened to me. It just came to me. I happen to come from a culture, I belong to Maharashtra, from a culture where the Ganesh Upasana is a very common thing. And so I started repeating the text of the ATHARVASHIRSHA quite mechanically first in the beginning, and eventually came to a understanding that the words inside this text are they are very Vedantic, and they are very deep, and they are to be explored and studied further. When you pick up an Upanishad like this, it is a journey from form to formless. It is a journey from akar to nirakar, understanding. That means you take this particular deity, or you take this particular form to be a manifestation of the divine consciousness. In fact, it is a representative of the divine consciousness. And when you understand the Upanishad from that point of view, there is a part of you which is very logical, very intellectual, and it needs an explanation for everything that it believes in. That part of it quietens because you are beginning your journey with the understanding that I have made an icon for something which is universal consciousness, which I understand and I believe. And this is an icon, this is a representative of the universal consciousness. And my prayers to him as a deity are prayers to the universal consciousness. So, here you don't have the problem of getting into a belief first before you begin into a practice. You can believe into the universality of this form and start your practice, and then eventually you understand and you learn to honor not only this particular form of consciousness, but all forms and all faiths in this world. It has been my personal experience that I'm able to appreciate, understand, appreciate the ethos and the emotions behind all the forms in this world. And when I can have an icon, for the universal presence and the presence of the absolute, all other forms, all other icons be accepted by me. I focus on this particular form, but I let, and I honor, others focusing on any different forms. So there is a universality that dawns into your insight, and there is a deep acceptance and reverence for all the manifestations of the divine that eventually comes into you, and you grow with this chosen form, but you finally land up falling in love
And
with
like
the
I
formless.
said in the beginning, even in the list of the 108 Upanishads, also we have some of the Upanishads dedicated to Shiva, some dedicated to the Shakta tradition, the Devi tradition, and some of them are dedicated to Vaishnav. So there is ample of choice available for each one of us to pick up what we would like to take. Also, it becomes very important to understand here that what are we heading for? What is our goal? Our goal is to reach the universal understanding, the universal truth, the absolute. Our goal is to realize that God within of us. Our goal is to realize and to be in the presence, be in the realization of this God. And so that there are these innumerous paths, laid down before us,
by the rishis. There are so many options. Whatever, you need to understand that here the question is not of is Shiva Upasana better than the Devi Upasana, or is Ganesh Upasana better than Vaishnava Upasana, or the question is not this. The question is, what do you feel like, taking up as your Upasana? So, from the Upanishad period, from the period of the Vedas onwards, these differences, these different deities were there, and because the Upanishads are written for them, so they were there. Later on, of course, the whole picture became very nasty, where there were so many sectarian differences in our society. Religion, the way it grew, and with ignorance looming large, people start limiting, consciousness to the kind of form that they are worshipping. They forget the universality of that form, and they get lost in that particular form that they are dedicating their practices to. So there came a time in India where there was so much of differences and so many clashes happening, and there were like different kinds of cults, that came up with all kinds of faiths. And it was here again where Adi Guru Shankaracharya came to our rescue, and he kind of melted these walls in between to make people understand the universality and the oneness which is there behind all forms. And in fact, many of his compositions, you see a lot of his stotras which are composed, he's composed Devi stotras, stotras for Shiva, for all gods and goddesses. And these stotras talk about beautiful verses of the physical description of the Devi, and there is so much of explanation about the glory of that particular form. And at the end of every stotra, you will find him dedicating one verse to the formless. He takes you from form to the formless in each of his compositions, which is absolutely so mind-blowing and amazing. And I have done myself a couple of his some very beautiful stotras. I chant them regularly, and I see that what expansive, such a father-like, such a mother-like, such a parent he was to all us seekers, that he okay, you want to sing something for the Devi, he took you through the stanzas, through those verses, and in the end tells you the Nirgun Nirakar Swarup of that particular deity. So it is with the Ganesh Upasana that I am leading you into the ATHARVASHIRSHA. The Ganesh Upasana, we're not limiting ourselves. Every word that we chant, that we say in the Upanishad, in the verses, is through the Ganesha into the formless. Always remember, it is through the Ganesha into the formless. We need an icon to talk to. It's very difficult. I know a lot of people who are into the formless practices directly, which is amazing. It's absolutely amazing, but very difficult. Our brain is used to seeing things, identifying explanation with a form. To connect directly to the formless is a difficult thing. Yet some people do, out of their evolved natures and out of several lives of having taken birth on earth and having gone through several cycles of cleansing, penances, austerities, and whatnot, to be able to relate to the formless directly. It's a very evolved way of doing so. But if one finds it difficult, it's always very easy, it's always very nice to make a representative of the consciousness and begin your journey of communicating, of merging, of going closer and closer, of dissolving and malleating your ego completely, and completely getting dissolved and lost into the consciousness. That journey from form to formless is a very, very amazing journey.